crazy conspiracy theories that turned out to be true. Now, I've heard a lot of brother. I've heard about a lot of weird conspiracy theories going around, and then this. I think they're usually really funny to listen to. I like whenever people put on the tinfoil hat and pop a little bit off. It's always funny to think and try to understand what the hell they're yapping about. So let's take a look at this video.
Crazy conspiracy theories that turned out to be true. The Canadian fruit machine. The fruit machine is an ambiguous name, but if you have a keen mind, you might have had a few assumptions on what it could have been about. But if you're still in the dark, let me give you its other name, Canada's gaydar, or gay detection machine. That should paint a bit of
it can detect being gay? Do you think it will work on me? Gay tests? Ooh.
A clearer picture. If I told you that the Canadian government in the 1960s came up with a strange device and a series of tests specifically made to identify gay men so that
that is wild. How would that work? How do you identify and think yourself if somebody's gay? I think it's funny. I think that's just so weird. How does that work?
Discriminate against them. You would call me crazy, right? Well, you're not alone, but unfortunately, you are wrong. And the Canadian government did exactly that. Let me explain. The whole point of this fruit machine was essentially to identify and remove homosexual men working in government roles, specifically in the military and law enforcement. During the 1960s, Dr. Frank Robert Wake developed a rather strange series of psychological tests with the purpose of, obviously, identifying gay men. How this machine actually...
Can't you just like show a bunch of sexy hot dudes and like dudes fucking and shit like that and just check if they're like getting any attention, brain length on it? Isn't that it? How you just do that? Is that like...
It worked was kind of hilarious and extremely rudimentary. Basically, all it would do is it would show you erotic images and...
Wait, there you go. There you go, yeah. There it is. You like this? You're gay.
Say, essentially, gay buzzwords to see if your body had any sort of positive reaction to this stimuli. One of the markers they were looking for was a dilation of the subject's pupils, among other things. This was essentially the equivalent of a lie detector, but instead of detecting lies, it was detecting
gay.
Regardless of its ineffectiveness and rather strange methods to begin with, the results were taken seriously and led to the firing and discrimination of thousands of people, which unfortunately led to a huge rise in suicides, which is
I wonder why they would even fire somebody gay. Like, why does that change the workflow they're doing? Like, what does these are not sexual jobs. Why does this have to do with anything? Like this idea was just weird. It's just the targeting gay people for no reason.
Just heartbreaking. This entire project was discontinued in the late 1960s, making this entire fruit machine fiasco very short-lived, at least relatively, but the impact was still long-lasting. On top of the jobs and lives lost, the RCMP, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, still continued to collect files on suspected gay people for years after this project was concluded.
Jeez.
So if you're ever with a friend and they say, that guy's gay, I can tell because I have gaydar. Tell them you don't have gaydar. The Canadian government had gaydar, and they used it to discriminate, whether they were gay or not, as any little twinkling of evidence was good enough for them, and this had huge impacts. Then just sit there and awkwardly look at each other for a few minutes, and if they ask you how you knew this, you know what to tell them. Trust me, bro. The gay bomb. While we're on the topic of...
Why is there so many gay stuff? Like, what's going on?
The big gay, I have one more for you.
I thought we were gonna talk about like some crazy shit, not like gay, like if I figured out this guy's gay.
That being the gay bomb, which was a non-lethal chemical weapon theorized by, surprise, surprise, the United States military, specifically the Air Force. This bomb's purpose was simple yet strange. It was meant to be dropped over enemy territories, spreading a chemical mixture in the form of gas that would turn enemy troops essentially homosexual.
Nice. What the fuck? Imagine I'm throwing a bomb to turn everybody gay. That is just fucking on the battlefield.
This hypothetical weapon was confirmed in a 1994 Department of Defense document, where it spoke of a hypothetical weapon designed to dispense sexual pheromones.
That's where my tax dollars are going, bro. That I would pay for that. That's amazing.
Among enemy forces to generate mutual attraction. Now, initially, I thought the military application would be that the soldiers would just be too busy loving on each other to get any fighting done, but that wasn't the case.
Bro, trust me. I watched this show. What is it called? Atlanta. and some guy going to prison, like they were like in a waiting room for prison or something. They were at a police station, and they're talking about like somebody being gay because they were like, I think they were trans, or and the other guy was like dating, like basically like dating, and was kind of in a neglect of factor of this is a girl or a guy. The point of the whole thing is that they said he was gay, and then he goes back at it and you were fucking other men in the prison. And what I'm trying to get into that, he said, then he replied, but that's prison. There's a difference between being in being in prison and being gay. Because like, here's the thing. Whenever you're in an environment with you have sexual you have sexual needs and you're only with dudes, you're gonna start fucking other dudes. So I bet that all of these situations with militaries, when people are militaries that shut in a place for a long time, they're probably being gay. They're probably fucking each other and having a good time, and that's just props to him. Have fucking fun. So I feel like it's counterproductive because they have already gay bombed by the way they've created the whole organization. Do you get what I mean? Or am I talking like some kind of lunatic who was spreading religion out on the bus station? Like, what's going on?
It's actually a lot less interesting. Supposedly, the entire point was to cause confusion and panic amongst these troops, reducing their effectiveness in battle. Picture this. The year is 1993. You and your friend are sitting on the couch watching the movie Sniper, which just came out. When all of a sudden, you say to your friend jokingly, I bet the US government's probably thought about making bombs that would turn the enemies gay. You and your friend have a chuckle and continue the movie. However, the following year, you are hanging out with the same friend again, and instead of watching a movie, you are doing something that every teenager does, reading a Department of Defense release, when all of a sudden you see actual confirmation that the US Air Force was contemplating a gay bomb. After reading this, you're shocked, and you look your homie in the eyes and can't believe that your silly little joke was true. And in that moment, you and your friend start making out because you guys were gay.
I knew it was coming. Like I knew, I had a feeling he was, I knew it. There we have it, bro. Let's go, gays. Let's fucking go.
All right, seriously though, the first two are a bit silly, but these get a lot more serious. Project MK Naomi. As I said, Project MK, I'm sure the word ultra was the first thing that popped into your head. And that's because most people know about that crazy true conspiracy theory. And for that reason, I wanted to add something a bit different. Project MK Naomi was actually the successor of MK Ultra, and was a collaboration between the CIA and the US Department of Defense. And it went on for almost 2 decades, from the 1950s to the 1970s. The entire goal of Project MK Naomi was to gain a deeper knowledge on chemical and biological warfare weapons, specifically to determine what substances would kill people and what chemicals
I think every dude has probably done something gay in their life once. Like I feel like I'm gonna be real. I bet every single dude on this planet, if they've just not been antisocial, they've done something gay in their life. There's something. They probably, every bromance is gay as fuck, and we love it, bro. Like, it is what it is. Like, the thing is that a lot of gay things are just being just being a man and masculine. So I think like this focus, this targeting, in at least these fields where you are kind of like very masculine in many regards, is just so ridiculous and stupid. Like, it doesn't, it's just so funny. Like, it's just targeting people for no reason at all.
Would do what to people? Once the CIA and Department of Defense had a list of chemicals and a list of reactions ranging from irritation all the way to death, they then started focusing on unique delivery systems for these chemicals. Most notable of which being dart guns, specifically dart guns either filled or having their tip coated with these specific chemicals, with one of the most famous examples being the heart attack gun, which was, like you may have guessed, a gun that shot a dart at a target that would, shortly after injection, cause a heart attack in the victim, making a very intentional death seem accidental. And it's no doubt that these weapons would have been very useful for spies, especially during the Cold War, when tensions and the need for a good spy was at an all-time high. And if you're for some reason unfamiliar with Project MKUltra, it's basically the government using LSD on non-consenting individuals to try to test mind control, as a very basic elevator pitch. But I'm assuming most of you are aware of that one. USA's fake Cuban attack. This video is quickly taking a very dark turn, but that's kind of how these lists go. In 1962, during the Cold War, the US wasn't just tense with Russia, it also had growing tensions with its southern neighbor, Cuba, specifically because Fidel Castro had risen to power in Cuba and was a rather large proponent of communism, or at least kept a very good relationship with Russia. During this time, the US experienced the Cuban Missile Crisis, which simply put was Russia putting their nukes in Cuba because the US had put their nukes in Turkey and Italy. This situation was scary, but it was resolved safely. However, the US did not forget, hence them coming up with Operation Northwoods. The plan suggested that the government would carry out a series of fake terrorist attacks on the American military and civilians, to then blame Cuba for these attacks and then justify going to war.
But doesn't sound out of the line of America. I mean, we got Bush, right? You know, like there are. I mean, that's very typical. Unfortunately, they have a reason now to go in. Why? Yeah.
Some of these crazy actions that they planned on doing to their own people was hijacking planes, sinking boats, and even bombing US cities, all done intentionally to point the blame at Cuba. But this wasn't just a get back for the Cuban Missile Crisis. This plan was part of a larger effort to oppose Fidel Castro's communist government, which was aligned directly with the Soviet Union, the USA's enemy at the time. And with the Soviet Union having an ally so close to US soil, the US was feeling the heat. Although, would that have justified any of these actions? I don't believe so. That being said, fortunately, none of these actually happened. Although it's not because the government had a change of heart and realized this was awful. President John F. Kennedy simply rejected the plan because he thought that this would cause a large-scale war against Russia, which he deemed to be too risky. Regardless though, none of these horrible attacks injured any innocent people, which is great. And nobody even knew about it until 1997, when the documents were declassified and made public. So yeah.
Oh, aren't there like assassinations of a lot of like primal figures in the US getting declassified now because of Trump? I wonder what's going to happen. Like, I wonder what kind of information will be spread. It's very, I think that will be interesting. I think America will have a very interesting time, like, knowing about all that information, because a lot of conspiracy theories go around these figures and their deaths and stuff like that, and are asking a lot of questions. So I wonder if this would enlighten and like kind of flame up other conspiracy theories that they also have an assumption around. Yeah, JFK, and he said give a JFK GR and the pen that signed it. Yeah, okay.
Although the
That's
government
crazy.
didn't sacrifice its own people in the name of war, they definitely heavily considered it,
JFK
which is
Jr. pen?
definitely concerning. North Korea abducting Japanese citizens. During
With the Kennedys and the Martin Luther King Jr. Yeah, this will be interesting.
late 1970s to early 1980s, there were rumors spreading around coastal Japan that North Korean agents were abducting innocent Japanese citizens and taking them back to North Korea for a plethora of reasons. This rumor even gained government attention and was simply brushed off as a conspiracy theory that had absolutely no merit. That was until it was proven to be right. Between 1977 and 1983, North Korean agents were doing exactly what I described, abducting Japanese citizens from coastal cities of Japan and taking them back to North Korea for a multitude of reasons. And these people weren't your typical abduction victim. They weren't prostitutes or homeless or anybody who seemed potentially vulnerable. They were seemingly chosen at random, making this even more scary and bizarre. The Japanese government officially recognizes over 17 victims of North Korea.
Why are they all nearly women? Wait, actually, there's quite a lot of men as well. Huh. Yeah, this seems really random. Like, it doesn't seem like a specific gender or age group or anything like that. What the fuck is this?
Abduction, although North Korea only claims they abducted 13, which to me is even crazy that they admitted to anything. But some people suggest that over hundreds of people were taken. These victims were ranging anywhere from teenagers to adults, and were kidnapped for, like I mentioned, various reasons, but were most commonly used to teach Japanese or Japanese culture to North Korean spies, so that these North Korean spies could acclimate to the culture and essentially blend right in. Besides teaching at these schools, they would also provide fake IDs for covert operations, as these people weren't going to be in Japan, so spies could take their identity and use them. The only reason that North Korea ever even admitted to any of the abductions was because after investigations by the Japanese authorities, there was simply no doubt at all that these abductions were happening and that these people were in North Korea.
But what happened to them? Like, that doesn't sound like the most awful thing to be abducted by. Like, I mean, I feel like they could do a lot of crazy shit, but all they did was use them to teach them culture and about Japan and their language. I mean, what did they do with them after? I obviously didn't send them back.
It was only until there was absolutely no one else to blame and nowhere else to go for North Korea that they finally admitted. Unfortunately, there really is no happy ending to this story, and the chances are that these abductions have gone on much longer and there has been many more victims than we could have ever imagined in this situation. And with the way that things are currently with North Korea, it's very likely that they will never be held accountable for literally abducting, torturing, and killing innocent Japanese citizens.
So they did torture and kill them, okay.
The US government poisoning...
How do you make manga?
alcohol. It's no conspiracy theory that from 1920 to 1933, the US government banned alcohol, hence this time being known as the Prohibition era, as alcohol was literally prohibited. But besides passing laws and regulations to ensure that no alcohol was being produced or distributed, the US government also took a few additional steps to really deter people from consuming alcohol. What the government chose to do was add methyl alcohol into industrial grade alcohols to deter human consumption. It's theorized that the government assumed that having these deadly poisons in this alcohol would cause some of these illegal consumers of alcohol to pass away, deterring these bootleggers to sell their product as it was killing their customers. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case, and the bootleggers continued to sell, and alcoholics continued to drink. And unsurprisingly, as a result of this, many people were poisoned and died. And in 1927, in New York alone, there was over 41 deaths confirmed to have come from alcohol poisoning from tainted alcohol, specifically the methyl alcohol. The government used this strategy up until 1933 when the prohibition ended, and it was at that point confirmed that the US government was literally poisoning alcohol, as it was recorded as a strategy to curb alcohol consumption. So yeah, the US was intentionally putting deadly chemicals into products that they knew that people were consuming. I find this one a bit interesting because although people weren't supposed to be consuming this, the US government knew that people were going to consume this. So
I think that's fucked up to do to your own citizens, because the government is established and there to protect their citizens and make it a foundation and community for their citizens. To be there to kill your own citizens and poison them and trick them, that's wild. That sounds so opposed to what you're meant to do. And if they do this, like what the hell are they fine with doing?
The fact that they intentionally put deadly chemicals into it, to me, is a bit concerning. This might just be an optimistic thought, but I would like to believe that there's a way where you can deter people from drinking illegal industrial grade alcohol without putting literal poison in it that's going to undoubtedly cause death. Like potentially adding an agent that is extremely sour or potentially even extremely spicy, making the alcohol essentially unconsumable as it's so uncomfortable to drink, but still rendering it non-lethal. As great as this sounds, this might have not been an option, as those sorts of additives may have rendered the actual industrial grade alcohol less effective, which wouldn't have worked because this alcohol needed to serve its primary purpose, as it wasn't meant to be consumed. It was literally industrial grade. But yeah, anyway, from 1920 to 1933, the US government decided that the best way to deter people from drinking alcohol was by killing them, or at least slowly poisoning them, which I wouldn't say is much better. The USA's fake Vietnam attack. And we're already back. Does this story sound at all familiar? But seriously though, I could make an entire separate video focusing solely on extremely deplorable things that the US government has done. But I do value living, so if you really want that video, let me know in the comments. But if not, I probably won't make it.
They might get him. They might go for him, guys. Maybe it's not a good idea. The US government might go for him. He does sound like he lives in the US.
Being said, let's get into the fake Vietnam attack. In 1964, USA was of course beefing, this time with northern Vietnam.
Another fake attack? Wow, who would have guessed?
The entire situation is known as the Gulf of Tonkin incident, and it marked a pivotal moment in the escalation of the US involvement in the Vietnam War.
The situation happened
in early August of 1964 and involved US naval vessels conducting operations off the coast of North Vietnam. On August 2nd, the US destroyer, the USS Maddox, was conducting intelligence patrols, and on this patrol, it encountered 3 North Vietnamese torpedo boats. There's a small conflict which led the Maddox to fire warning shots at the torpedo boats, and the torpedo boats to respond with an unsuccessful attack. The Maddox suffered minor damage, literally only took a single bullet hole, but the North Vietnamese torpedo boats were significantly damaged, with crew either dead or severely injured. This entire encounter happened because the North Vietnamese were pretty sussed out about covert US-backed operations happening on their coast. Regardless, this incident was relatively minor in regards to the Vietnam War as a whole, but what isn't is the alleged second attack that happened 2 days later on August 4th, 1964. It was claimed that on this day, another attack on the USS Maddox and the USS Turner Joy had taken place. The ships were claimed to have been targeted based on radar signals and intercepted communications between the North Vietnamese. However, with these claims seeming very plausible, there was little to no evidence and were later debunked. The captain of the USS Maddox, John Herrick, was almost instantly questioning the validity of these claims, as he was the captain and heard no such thing of this second attack. And shortly after, the entire attack was debunked and proven to be nothing more than manipulation. Investigations even confirmed that there was no North Vietnamese forces present anywhere near either of these ships that night, and the intelligence that they had misinterpreted was simply manipulated to spin the story of a potential second attack. The reason why I'm talking about this fake attack is because it was used as justification to amplify the war. Congress even passed the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution, which allowed the US's involvement in Vietnam to escalate heavily, leading to significant.
Isn't it funny that they lost the war to that as well? Like, that's crazy. Like, US does this too much. Like, I think there has never been actual war on US soil. Like, at all, like ever. I think the only war that has been is between is a civil war. There's never been actual war from a different country on U.S. soil. I think it seemed like they have to fake every single attack to involve themselves. And why is that? Because in the industry of war is profitable for America. There are a lot of people in America that are like owning all of the like fabrics and creation of like these weapons, and they wish for these to be used and more to be bought, the tax money to go into that. So that's why they create all these situations. And I think that's even a conspiracy theory, but in a way, but it's not. It's kind of true. But yeah, U.S. government has done. Oh, we haven't even started yet. Orange Man will make shit worse. Lol. I wonder what will happen with Trump, because he's like really hands. He really goes at it. I do want to say though, in some way, I would probably because I look at when I reflect on myself, I think about my country. And I wish my country did things that are great for themselves. But I do think it's very... I feel like Trump has done a lot of... is doing things that are actually really good for themselves, for Americans. I think that the LA thing was really what made me like a little bit more Trump. Because I looked at it and how he talked about the people. And about like trying to push that governor to not wait 9 months, 2 years... to fix their shit, that they can fix everything, they can start working, and like they can help them to build them to come back to their homes and stuff like you know what I'm talking about. If you've seen what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Like I feel like he speaks actions. Now he's rash. I don't think he's very logical in many things, and he has very weird methods. But in my opinion, and I don't know if this is a facade at the beginning, but I do feel like he's kind of focusing on helping the American people. Like it doesn't, like in some way, and I can respect that as a non-American. I can totally respect that. And I wish, for example, myself, I had a president at the moment that would care about my people, that are people. But at the moment, they are not, you know, like after multiple years of that president fucking it up and everybody waiting for the next election so we can get them the fuck out. You really do like appreciate that. Now he's definitely a clown and plays up a lot of things. It says a lot of stupid shit, but I think you should definitely give him, props where it's due. You know what I mean? You know, though the mafia tactics are wild. Yeah, I thought that was a little bit weird. That's crazy. That is crazy again. And again, I think there's that if we talk about the trans and LGBT stuff, that like that's also like a pretty sad. But like in many ways, like I think that's the thing. Some things he's done is really good, like in my opinion. And I think for America, you should be happy about it, because he trying to get people get back to their home. You know, we're like two weeks in, 3 years and a couple of weeks to go. I'll hold him, wait for a while. Yeah, that's the thing. He's done a lot of things very quickly, in a very quick fashion. After he got into office, he did a fuck ton of things. So I wonder, like, what is he gonna do? What's next? Like, it's crazy.
Significant troop deployments and a major intensification of the war. It wasn't until years later, after the war had ended, that the U.S. Department of Defense admitted that the second attack never happened. And even later on, declassified documents confirmed that there was a strategic plan to use this fake second attack as a pretext to escalate the war, which ended up becoming one of the most controversial wars in U.S. history. There's no doubt that the Vietnam War was controversial, and this is only a tiny glimpse of some of the stuff that was going on, at least on the US side of things. Project Sunshine. Fair warning, there is a reason why this entry is at the end of the list, and that's because it is by far the most morbid subject in this entire video. Project Sunshine is also known as the Dead Baby Project, and that alone should give you a small glimpse into the insanity that is this conspiracy theory.
Appreciate the Silent Hill music.
Project Sunshine was a secret research project that was launched in 1953 to study the effects of radioactive fallout on human health and the environment. Already off to a bad start. The focus of this radioactive testing was specifically on strontium-90, which is regarded as the deadliest byproduct of nuclear detonation. the United States Atomic Energy Commission aimed to measure the amount of strontium-90 in human tissue, as it was typical for it to accumulate in human bones, specifically in children's bones whose skeletal systems were still developing and most vulnerable. Now here's the thing, as much as they potentially would have wanted to subject real children to strontium-90 to study the side effects, they were not able to do so, as it would be a huge moral dilemma and definitely wouldn't fly well with the general public. So what they did do was gather over 1,500 human samples, primarily consisting of babies and young children, without the consent or knowledge of the families that they were taken from. These 1,500 adolescent cadavers were not originally from the United States, and were actually from countries like Australia and the UK, and were acquired by some pretty disgusting means, specifically preventing parents from examining their deceased child before they were sent away for nuclear testing. Typically, these deceased children were sent in parts to not raise suspicion, as parents may notice their entire child missing, but they may not notice their child missing a leg if they are not able to view the child's body in its entirety. Like I mentioned at the beginning, this is extremely dark and
that is fucked up. Like, I know that science is like, this is about a weapon, but like I know in science, when you're trying to figure out health, like actually extreme measures are needed to figure out things that are for the better of the health in the future, which is really tragic. It is sad. But like, this is insane. Like, can you imagine accepting this? This is insane.
Honestly,
I'm wanting to do this.
The initial studies on strontium-90 only analyzed the effects on the human remains. However, shortly after, it expanded to studying its effects on natural environments, such as soil, grass, and grazing animals, where they were seeing what the effect of this strontium-90 would be as it ascended up the food chain. I don't think it'll serve as much as a surprise that once the practices of Project Sunshine were exposed, they were met with widespread outrage, and even resulted in a stricter ethical standard when it came to scientific research, specifically those involving human subjects, dead or alive. It literally sounds like something your crazy uncle would say at Thanksgiving dinner. Hey, can you pass the potatoes? Yeah, here you go. Oh, did you know that in the 50s, the US government was actually essentially stealing dead children from overseas and using them to test the dangerous byproducts of nuclear fallout? Oh, crazy. Honestly though, it sounds too crazy to be true, but one thing I've learned from researching for this video is that, unfortunately, some things are too crazy to not be true. But anyways, that's all I got for now, guys. If you aren't satisfied and want even more crazy conspiracy theories, let me know in the comments. I'll definitely make another conspiracy theory video in the near future if that's something that you want. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna thank you so much for watching this video. And if you haven't already, check out this video on screen. It's about the craziest cults from around the world. And as disturbing as that video may be, it'll probably feel like a palate cleanse after this one. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. And as always, trust me, bro.
I feel like this video could fit us, huh? What do y'all think? What do y'all think? Now, that was a good video. That was really fun. That was really interesting. I mean, that was really tragic as well in the end, but that was interesting. I was a good. I've seen this channel ages ago. Actually, I saw, like, I was watching it at night, like many months ago, and I saw it recommended. I thought we were gonna watch it. I thought it was good. What do y'all think? I hope you liked it. Hope you liked it. Have you heard about any crazy conspiracy theories that you want to share? Feel free to tell me down in the comments. Like this video if you enjoy it. Sub to the channel if you watch more. And if you want to help me live, you're free to come by my Twitch channel on twitch.tv/Charlie. I appreciate y'all watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one, y'all. Peace.